Good day, and welcome to Far Reaches Extra, or FRX as we call it. FRX is a chance for the gang to reach a little deeper with a one-on-one interview and discover people and topics that make this world worth living in. We hope you enjoy this random journey, and feel free to send in your suggestions or even call us out to be on the next episode of Far Reaches Extra. Hey, good day. How your mom and them? Welcome to Far Reaches Extra. That's right. It's the extra part where we have usually a one-on-one conversation with somebody we just want to really get a chance to know a little bit better instead of putting up with three other yahoos. It's just one yahoo and one special guest. So today, so excited. I've been talking about this for a while. Our very special guest is Miss Cindy Kline, author of one of my favorite books. And I kid you not, I have no reason to BS this. I read this book in like a weekend. It's the Molly Maguire Welcome Home to Murder, and it's a Molly Maguire cozy mystery. So Cindy, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm outstanding. Little disclosure, Cindy and I worked together a long time ago. We only saw each other a couple times, but we talked on the phone all the time, and she saved my bacon on at least a daily basis, if not more often. And so we have not seen or talked to each other in a long time, but when I found her on the Facebook with these books, I was like, holy, that's the Cindy I know. And so I suckered her into being on Far Reaches Extra so she could talk about her books and what's coming up. And so, Cindy, thank you. How are you?
Good. I am well. I am enjoying this part of my life. So.
Outstanding. So you're outside at home right now. Is that where we're at?
I am outside at home, and hopefully, like I mentioned, the storm is going to go around us and not hit me, and I'll have to run in the house real quick. So
we'll adapt and overcome. That's what Far Reaches is all about, just making the best of her. So awesome. So I have a pile of questions because I've never really got to talk face to face to an authentic, real author before. So hopefully, if I ask you questions, just tell me to shut my yap. But my first one is what is a Molly Maguire cozy mystery? How do you classify that?
Okay, well, it's a subgenre, obviously, of mysteries. What it is that it tends to be done in a small town, tends to be a close community. The detective is usually a inexperienced person who just kind of gets caught into the mystery and happens to solve it. So
okay, so it's a specific genre of mystery writing, and so they kind of when you're looking at it, it's I see you have this small town local hero, so to speak, and so it kind of falls into that subcategory. Right. Is that how it is?
Exactly. Yep. And what's the big thing about it is the sex and the violence are off screen, so there's not my hairdresser's 9-year-old daughter reads these books. And so there's not very little swearing, and before I wrote them, I read them obviously, and to me I consider them a lot of times like a quick read, like you said, you did it in a weekend. I used to take them to the beach, type thing. They were always a good thing to read at the beach or on vacation, that type thing. So
awesome. Yeah, that was my next question is so what, of all the genres, what drew you to this one? And it sounds like you were a big fan of them already and wanted to be able to have your hairdresser's 9-year-old read them, or a 47-year-old dude living in Florida.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm older than you, we'll say, and I truly enjoy reading them. So
awesome. I had no idea that was a specific genre. When I looked at it, I thought, oh, Cindy calls it a cozy mystery. I like that very much.
It's just something I came up with.
Exactly. And I'm going to keep that
cozy mysteries are huge right now. A lot of times they are specific, you've got people that are bakers, and so it's based on their bakery, and they include baking recipes, or there's sewing ones, or library ones, or that type of thing.
So sometimes I get sucked into, I don't know if it's Lifetime or which one it is, but it's the little blonde gal that used to be on Young and the Restless or something. She's a baker, and so she's solving mysteries around the town. And
exactly.
yeah.
Yep, those were written by Denise Swanson.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and and they turned them into movies on Hallmark channel.
Hallmark, that's it. Yeah, and I stumble right into those two, and I get hooked because there's a little sass, and she's a good baker, and all plays together. So yeah, that's
exactly
even better. So, yeah, that's why when I read this, I was like, oh, I know exactly who should be playing so and so when I read the book.
Well, hopefully someday, but
absolutely. So this is book one, Welcome Home to Murder. Book two is out already. Is that correct?
That is correct. Book two came out in January, and that is called Very Merry Murder.
Oh, awesome.
I was hoping to get it out by Christmas, but that didn't happen. And then my third one actually comes out June 30th, and that one's called Shamrock Shenanigans and Murder.
June 30th. Okay, so coming out at the end of the month, Shamrocks, Shenanigans, and Murder.
Yep. So
outstanding. So there seems to be an Irish theme here. What inspired that?
I love Ireland. My husband and I have been there twice. It's just so incredibly beautiful. And part of it was there's not many, I think there's only like one or two other cozy mysteries that are actually done in Ireland. Where the United States, cozy mysteries done in the United States are, I mean, you can find a cozy mystery probably that's written in every single solitary state. So I was kind of trying to go for something different that I could hopefully bring a little bit of Ireland into everybody's day. So
that's beautiful. Yeah, because first thing I think of cozy mystery, Ireland, like small towns, everybody knows what's going on. There's just like a lot of community. So it, like for my brain, I'm like, that's perfect. Of course, I love Ireland so much myself and Scotland. When I went to Dublin a few years ago, I was just like, I think I am home. I'm looking for houses to rent,
Exactly.
It just like it grabs you. So
I keep telling my husband I want to retire there, but I think we'd have to win the lottery.
Yes, or just spend as much time as there as possible and then come back. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So end of the month. Oh, awesome. So I want to make sure we plug this several times throughout our little talk, just so I can make sure people get a chance to find you. So obviously the one main place would be cindykline.com. That's your website. Books are on Amazon, correct?
They are on Amazon. The first one you should be able to find pretty much anywhere. The second one, I believe, is just right now, it's just Amazon, but it's if you have international travelers or international listeners, thank you. Then it is available on Amazon, like, in India and UK and Australia and all of those. So
outstanding. And then you have a Facebook as well, Facebook group, Molly McGuire.
Have a Facebook group. Yep. They can just search Molly McGuire Mystery or Cozy Mysteries, and it should come up, and you can join the group and get breaking news and everything Molly, and talk about Ireland and all kinds of interesting things. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've noticed several times you've asked questions about the recipes and if people want to have them. And so I haven't got to spend near as much time in the groups as I hope to, but I'm certainly going to circle back to that some more, because some other Facebook groups I'm in, it's like a really neat little community. You get a lot of back and forth and ideas and get to know people. And so I think it'd be cool to talk more about these on there as well.
And it's nice to know what my readers want, or what they like, or what they don't like, or that type of thing. So, because I was told that, one or two people that complain about something, they're just complaining, but you have three or more, you need to pay attention.
There's a trend, and you might be like, I'm going to jot that down.
You might want to listen to it. So, but yes, definitely. And then also too, right now from today through Friday, book one, the ebook on book one is actually on Amazon.com for free. You can
outstanding.
It with no cost at all. And then the second book ebook is $2.99, and then the third book is $2.99, or will be $2.99 when it gets published.
So to clarify again, from today through Friday, the first book e-download on Amazon free.
Correct.
So no, anybody listening right now, there's no reason not to go click that link. If I'm doing my job halfway decent, that link will be down below when you watch this. You can click on that link. You can go check out the book, e-version. I got this as a paperback just because sometimes I like to read the paper still. Most books I have on e-version, but I thought this is the kind of book you want to have on the shelf, you want to take with you so you can hand it off to somebody else or travel with it. So that's what it said to me when I just saw it and thought about it. I'm like, that's a book I need to carry. So I'd recommend having it, but get the e-version. I recommend if you do get that, you're probably going to go buy the hard copy or soft copy anyways, just because it's one you want to have. So I think that's cool. Also, if they go to your website, cindykline.com, sign up between now and June 30th, eligible to win a signed copy of Shamrock Shenanigans and Murder, which that should be a band or maybe the name of my biography also. So
yeah, so they'll be, what I'm going to do is anybody who's signed up by June 30th, I'll put out everybody's name in a hat and pick one, and they'll get a free book, and I'll email them and let them know, and they just let me know their address and I'll ship it out to them.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm gonna be signing up for dang sure. Yeah. Again, I'll have all this down below in the description. If you have questions, we'll be able to get you in touch with Cindy for sure as well about how to figure out where these are. But so I want to make sure we get that at least once, but I know we're going to circle back on that again. But I had some other questions too, just if you don't mind, about just sort of the background and like, you know, how long have you been writing these kind of stories and what got you to this point?
Well, you know, it was probably 10 or 15 years ago that I decided that I wanted to publish a book. But at the time I had, you know, little kids and that type of thing, and didn't really have the time, but I dabbled here and there. And what I really realized after my first attempt was I really sucked at writing a book. And so I spent probably that 10 or 15 years studying writing. I don't have a, you know, writing background. I don't have a writing degree. To be honest, I am horrible at grammar. And so all of that just kind of stopped me, as well as really nervous about reviews, because people can be mean. And, you know, and I'm sure they don't necessarily mean to be, but so that stopped me from publishing for a long time. And so then I ended up quitting my job at the company that you and I both work for. You left long before me, but I quit, and then I was in the process of finding another job, and COVID hit. So I decided that, you know, this is a really good time to write my book. And it was, I think it was just the right time. I sat down in February of 2020 and wrote the book. Everything just flowed. Everything just worked out really well. And I published it the end of June of 2020. So
wow.
Fastest book I've ever written.
So from February to like February, you sit down, June, it's getting published.
Yep, exactly. So
yeah, the publishing process, I'm curious about this as well. Did you self-publish? Did you go through Random House or whatever?
Nope, I did self-publish through Amazon. And let me tell you, if there's anybody out there that wants to write a book, that is the way to do it, in my opinion. It's free, which is a huge plus. I would suggest hiring an editor or finding somebody who can help you with that part of it, because that is probably the number one complaint of people I've learned on Amazon reviews is, you know, did you edit this book? I mean, I read a series of books that it was, oh my God. I mean, the premise was wonderful. And oh my gosh, I could have sworn this woman had an exclamation point in every single sentence. And it was so distracting, and to where I couldn't finish the book, you know, but it was sad because it was a great, I mean, the premise was great. It's done in Scotland in a castle and, you know, all this, you know, really good things, but it was just like, oh my goodness.
Such a tremendous point. Just,
Yep,
it's not, it doesn't change the spirit of your writing or what your message is. It just gets it tuned and cleaned, and like you said, 8,000
Right.
exclamation points. As soon as you notice like the first two, then that's all you're really seeing, and you're completely
Exactly.
derailed from the actual content of the book.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, you know, like, hey, how you doing? Exclamation point. Oh, I'm doing well. Exclamation point. And so, yeah. So, I mean, it just kind of brought home that you really need to edit these things. So, yeah. So I did get it edited by a professional, and it worked really well. My sales were decent, I thought, for a first time book. I would love, you know, higher ones, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I truly enjoy the writing. It sometimes it takes longer for the plots to come to me than it did that first one, but because I don't know if you figured out who it was in the first one, but I really try hard to make it a surprise, because I hate reading a book and halfway through figuring out who did it.
Yeah, you did well at that. I think there's things would come to light and people would be more in the spot, like, oh, it could have been Steve. And then the way this first one rolled out is like who it really was in the end. And like it's several things came together and you're like, oh, like I probably could have figured that out if I was like just being like super taking notes and maybe had a spreadsheet, but like it flowed well. And you're just like, now it all comes together. Because then for me, it's always great when it like trips my memory back to certain things, like, oh, when she said this or that was like that, and you're like, aha. So that really like fell into place for me really well with the book. And that's one thing I really liked about it, is like when it comes to it, you're like, I see it now. You don't have to, there's not a giant leap of faith to put all the pieces together, but they were hidden well enough that they didn't smack you all along the way. Yeah.
That's what I was shooting for. So I'm glad.
Nailed it. Yeah. So when you're writing these books, like, do you think of the end of the story and then write backwards, or you're kind of like just start writing with the premise and get to the end at some point, it kind of all falls into place for you?
Well, that is a very interesting question, because as you know, in my studying of writing, it talks about pantsers or plotters. And pantsers are those that fly by the seat of the pants. And planners are the plotters, are the ones that sit there and do their outline and everything else. I am kind of a combination of the two. What I did on my first one was for about the first half of it, I flew by the seat of my pants, and then decided I really need to know where this is going. And so then plotted the rest of it. You know, I did an outline. Okay, these are the things that I want to happen, you know, through the rest of the book. The second one, that was pretty much the same thing. Now, this third book, I had gotten to a point and had gotten stuck. And even trying to sit and think where I wanted it to go, I was having a lot of issues until somebody said to me, well, what's the ending? And it's like, well, I don't know. So I sat down and started writing my ending, and then it all came together. So then I knew where I was going, what I had to get to, you know, and that type of thing. So yeah, so I think I might try that a little bit more, is write the ending first and then see what happens. So
yeah, I think that's cool, because that intrigues me of how people put that process together. And I'd probably be similar, where I would just start talking and telling a story, and then at some point I'm like, okay, now I need to get over here. Now, how do I bring everybody around to that point? And I think you probably drive yourself mad doing it that way too many times as well, though, I think. So,
well, let me tell you, some of my early writings, it was like that. It was just, I didn't do any plotting, and I just kind of kept, you know, writing and writing. And when I had people read it, it tended to sag in the middle. And that's that tends to be the hardest part to keep people's interest, is the middle. And so I try to have something happen in the middle just to kind of spur it along. And so because I'm afraid that's going to happen. I'm afraid it's going to sag and people are going to set it down and not pick it back up.
Yeah, certainly was not an issue with this. Yeah.
Good.
Boiled said, how do you come up with the characters? I'm so curious to know that, like, who's male, who's female, who's old, who's young, where they're from, all those cool things.
You know, well, with this one, my first attempt at writing was actually done up in not upper Michigan is in the UP, but
Yeah.
upper northern Michigan. And so then I, just tried to find names that were Americanized and that type of thing. So on this one, I really tried to find more Irish names.
Mhm.
Not that there aren't Tom, Dicks, and Harrys in Ireland,
True.
but I did try to come up with some Irish names that weren't too hard to pronounce, or that you could, like Siobhan, which I think is the most beautiful name, but it's spelled like Siobhan, and I'm like, okay, how many people are actually going to know?
It's going to start fights is what that's
how you
going to
pronounce
do.
it. Exactly. So I tried to stick with, basic Irish names, type thing. And so, and then there's always the internet where you just kind of look up surnames, because surnames was a big issue.
Mhm.
I didn't want to, a good first name and then give them the last name of Smith, or something like that. So yeah, so you just kind of play around with them, and because you try to think, okay, what do I want this person to be like, and you try to find a name that fits it. So
Yeah, I think
I'll have to have Micah though in an upcoming.
Yeah, well, no, that's the squirrely character to keep an eye on for sure. Yeah, I think I think it'd be neat to be able to give some people a certain kind of voice. Like you need like sometimes that older person who just calls it like it is, but it's like super fair. I think that's one of my favorite types of characters. Sort of like just a little bit curmudgeon-y, but mostly fair and just like, that's a bunch of crap. So I think it's cool to give those people voice. But
yeah, and that is something that I've been continuing to study, because I don't think I'm quite as good as that. Well, I know I'm not as good as that as I want to be. And the one thing that I've learned since I've started writing is never stop learning.
Mhm.
To not assume, oh, I've published almost 3 books, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I still don't really know what I'm doing. So it's a continuous learning.
Yes, and I think something that I really enjoyed too is how you painted the picture of the town. And I don't know if it's because I'd been to probably maybe similar, but I think just you did such a great job of like just painting what that place was. So when you're traveling there, are you taking notes or extra pictures, or how are you soaking that in when you're in Ireland, or even not, but just like looking at something online?
Oh my gosh, we took so many pictures on both of our trips that we were there for the second trip. The second time we were there for like 16 days, and we probably took, between my husband, myself, and my son, we probably took over 3,000 pictures. And so that's a lot of it. I go back to those pictures and to remind myself what they looked like and things like that. And especially when we went in 1999, it's amazing how Americanized that Ireland has become between 1999 and 2017. A lot of the pubs aren't called pubs, they're called bars. They don't have the, it probably, you'd go to a pub and it was almost hard to find Irish food, because they were, hamburgers and, and
goodness, that's not right.
I think it's like, exactly. It's like I didn't come to Ireland to, come to a small town America. So I actually, also went back to the older pictures from 1999 and where there were smaller ones. And I think a lot of it too is they have a lot more highways now. So a lot of times you bypassed a lot of those small cities that are those small towns that we saw before.
Yeah.
And we got lost a lot too. So that
adds to the adventure. Yeah. We only planned on being there 12 days, ended up being there 16. So it was
exactly because we couldn't find our way back to Dublin. But no, it is, as you know, it's just an incredibly beautiful country.
And the people.
The second trip we hit Northern Ireland. The first time we didn't because the troubles were kind of still going on. But oh my gosh, that was just amazing. That if anybody's thinking about going to Ireland out there, try to find a couple days to do Northern Ireland. It's just incredibly beautiful. So it all is, but it was especially beautiful up there. So
that's amazing. So, so speaking of Ireland and Wally and all this, do you see this series maybe going from some other people or other parts of the world, or do you see Molly continuing on, or not sort of
I would
that part of the
eventually
world?
like to do another series, whether I do it in Ireland or if I do it in the United States. That I haven't really decided yet.
Mhm.
But I would like to see her travel a little bit because, how realistic is it that, this little village in Ireland that they're going to have, 30 murders, type thing. So, and I don't know if you're a British television fan at all, but there's a show that's been on for years and years called Midsummer Murders, and
I've heard of it. Yeah.
yeah, it's a great series. And I was watching one of the bonus takes of the show, and the guy who stars in it says, I don't know why anybody would live in this county because they've had over like 300 murders in this 17 season, that type of thing. So in that respect, yes, I would like to see her travel a little bit outside of her town of Dooley, just to to spread the murder.
Yes, I'm laughing extra hard because full on huge fan of Murder, She Wrote. And I always laughed because I'm like, man, if I saw that woman anywhere, I'm getting the hell out of town because somebody's dying, and
Exactly.
How many people's left in Cabot Cove, for God's sakes? Like, that place would be empty by now. So
exactly.
premise there, like, we got to spread this around a little bit. So, but still a huge fan. So
yeah, exactly. So yes, I do too. Then I think that a lot, that might have been kind of maybe what started the whole cozy mystery craze, type thing, or her in a little small town and an amateur detective or amateur sleuth and that type of thing. So
I had not put that together, but it makes perfect sense. And yeah, you need your basket and your bicycle and asking good questions. And so
exactly. And not taking no for an answer.
Precisely. There's just that one thing. Yeah. So one question that came up in my mind also is, any thoughts of making audiobooks of these at some point, or what's that process like?
It's something that I need to look into. I have a sister who that's all she listens to, or audiobooks. I am, I guess I should be very happy that she actually has bought the ebooks. But yeah, so that is something that I would like to look into. Maybe when I get to like the 4th or 5th book type thing, because I have no idea what is involved in that at all. So
yeah, I think it'd be neat to go back and if you got 4 or 5 in a series, then you could put them out. I think again that would be a hoot. But again, and I have zero idea how that works, but I think it would be fun to hear those voices. I'll put it that way. Yeah,
exactly. It would be. I was just thinking that it would be interesting to hear them. I've not to go off a little bit here, but the Harry Potter series I've started to listen to on tape. I mean, I've read the books, I've watched the movies, and starting to listen to those on audio, and oh my gosh, that is just amazing. So
wow.
So yes, I would like to eventually do
that. Question again too on you talked about you were home for COVID and you started writing and it just bammed. So now that you're looking at it from a slightly different angle, do you have like set hours in the day that no matter what, I'm going to be sitting here thinking or hacking or trying to be writing, or do you just let it happen?
Yeah, that is a very good question. So after my second book, I think why that took me so much longer was because it was, do I want to write today? No, I don't want to write today. And then it was like, okay, I've got to write today because I have to get this book done. Where I have started this series, a plug for this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person. Her name is Sarah Cannon, SarraCannon. That she is an author of YA, young adult books, but she is phenomenal at giving back to other authors. And so she's got a YouTube channel that she does that. She's got a lot of informational writing videos on there. But one thing that she does is she offers a class and it's called HB90. But what it does is you set goals in a 90-day increment. And so I just finished Q2. We're starting Q3. And you basically set a day by, you set a weekly schedule. So you like count up your 98 days in that quarter. You go through the calendar and how many days can I actually write on those days? So yeah, so it is on my calendar on those days, on certain days that I write, and I sit down for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, depending on how it goes, but at least to write. Even if, because the one thing I've learned is just write, and then you go back and edit.
Just let it spill out and then.
Yeah, exactly. So like my first time around, it doesn't have a whole lot of description on that type thing. It's just, the people talking, what she's doing or what they're doing, the clues that she's finding, that type thing. And then I go back and fill in all of that other stuff. So, and let me tell you, that has made a huge difference, because I started this book in March. So, and I'm doing it or getting it out the end of June. So,
wow. So
yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that without this, without Sarah. So
that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I figured it out hour-wise.
Yeah.
And it took me, it only took me about 60 hours to write the book. It just took me, 98 days to, almost 98 days to do it. And, to do those 60 hours in those 98 days.
It's pretty intense, actually. Yeah. It's,
yeah.
On your, I'm always thinking about how people formulate their thoughts. Do you take notes in like structure and outline? Do you have a giant whiteboard where you're kind of writing things in big circles, or is it all kind of one central spot?
Actually, I do a couple things. One thing that I learned first quick is when you're 40,000 words in, it's really hard to remember what you did 20,000 words ago. So yeah. I actually have an Excel sheet that I keep track by chapter, that I keep track of the page numbers, who my characters are, what happens, and that type of thing. Awesome. And that helps. Yeah, that helps a lot. And then I use a program. It's a free program called PW Works that I keep track of all my characters in. And it's awesome because you can add your characters, you can add places, you can even add like maps of places. So because one thing I had to do is I had to make a map of Dooley so that I, knew where stuff was, and I didn't keep moving it around and things like that. And, and like in the first book with the manor, I had to make a map of the manor so that I knew, where stuff was and that type of thing. So, and it's great because you can actually, so I would like draw these out, and then I would scan it into my computer, and you can actually add it right into this program and pull it up, and voila, it's there. But that's where I keep my description so that, you don't have, red hair in book 1 and, blonde hair in book 2. Not that couldn't happen, but still.
Different middle initial, etc. Yeah,
exactly. So, but
is that something you could use to put like a map in the book, or like a things of that nature?
If I had somebody that had a better hand than me and they're drawing, yes, I could probably do that. I've been trying to actually find, if any of your listeners out there know of a program. There's a lot of programs out there for like medieval games and things like that. But it's very hard to, or at least I have not been able to come across a program that I could just, build my little city. You'd think there would be. It's like somebody out there. There has to be a program out there. Build, make a program to do this. Because that would be a lot easier. So, but
that's a great point. Yeah, well, you never know. There is, if you want to talk about random, I think the collection of listeners at Far Reaches pretty well establishes that, just random.
Well, there you go.
So you never know who's going to come up with what. So yeah, gang, if you know of anything that Cindy could utilize, get over on our website or contact me and I could pass it along. But certainly if we can bring something extra to that would be hopeful to bring an extra tool to the table, as they would say.
Exactly. That would be awesome. So yeah, because now, yeah, the one thing I cannot do is draw. You know, I mean, my people are, you know, stick men and you know, I might use a colored, you know, marker to, you know, color their hair, you know, type of thing. But yeah, that's about as far as it goes. So you're like, I don't have any curved streets or anything because I can't even make her, you know,
yeah,
you know,
everything's just
curved.
Looks like graph
Yeah.
paper. Don't judge me.
Exactly. So exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh.
I always have to ask too, if somebody, you mentioned a little bit, if somebody wants to do this on their own, to probably self-publish, but any other advice you would give to somebody who's thinking and sitting around like, should I could probably, I want to do that. I want to try it. What would you tell them?
The one thing that I wish somebody would have hit me over the head with a 2x4 when I first started writing was everybody thinks, okay, I'll write my book and then I'll get my readers type thing. And what I wish I would have done differently was start getting my readers first, which is of course kind of hard when you don't have a book out there. But even if you went onto your regular Facebook page or whatever and said, hey, you know, I'm thinking about writing a book. I'd like to, this is my premise. You know, if you're interested in hearing more about it, sign up for my newsletter. Here's my website or however they want to get a hold of you through Facebook or whatever. Because that was one of the things that, I lost, I don't want to say lost, but I'm not very good at the whole marketing aspect. And you really, really need to, and I've heard this is actually true, even if you publish to a regular publisher these days, you still have to do a lot of your own marketing. And so I've really stepped up my marketing on this book. So hopefully between the Facebook group and the newsletter and things like that, that I can really get, the news of the book out there. Hey, give Molly a chance. She gets in all kinds of trouble.
Absolutely. She's quite the character. And I think, yeah, I totally agree. That's the best way to do that. But you're really hanging it out there too. I think, I guess you're extra committed to the point then that I am going to write this book because I just told everybody that I'm going to, and holy crap, now I have to. So
exactly.
It's certainly that.
Now I will admit though, with I don't know how many Facebook friends I have, but my first book, the majority, actually pretty much all of my marketing was done off of Facebook. As well as our old CEO from the company that we used to work with, such a sweetheart. He bought 50 of my books, sent them to all of the offices around the world, as well as to all of the board of directors and, that whole thing. And so I did, cool. I think, get a few fans there. And so it wasn't like I didn't have anybody and, made my family each buy, 10 books each. Type thing. So that was a good place to start. But so maybe start that way, but then maybe for the second book, try to get your email list going up and stuff like that. So, and just don't give up. The one reason, there were so many times that I wanted to give up, but I have a son that I did not want him to see me give up on my dream. I thought, okay, what am I showing him if it gets too hard? So I stop. And so that is the main reason why I kept going and eventually published my first book, which he has not read, by the way.
What?
Or my second, which I give him crap about constantly.
I would as well.
I will. So, it's like,
I'd send him a couple of COD just to be a pain in the ass. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yes, exactly. So yeah, I give him a hard time about that. So, but he is very, like I'll talk about my plot. Well, Mom, why don't you do this? Or, that type of thing. So he is very encouraging that way. And Mom, how's it going? And things like that. It's like, so that's good. At least he is encouraging. He just hasn't actually read the books. So.
And if I recall, he did help take a lot of pictures when you were in
Yes,
Ireland
he
too.
did. He did do that. Yes, he did. So, but yeah, one of the things that I might actually have to do is one of the coolest things that we did in Ireland was we went to Kline, which is where The Quiet Man was filmed.
Yes.
And they have a castle there called Ashford Castle. And I actually read this in a book. They do a falcon walk there. And we did that. Let's go here. Oops. We did that, and it was the coolest thing. I mean, it was the three of us with a instructor or bird guy, whatever you want to call him. And they had these trained falcons, and you would, they get on your wrist, and you would, and you would, go like, you put your arm up, and they'd fly away, and then you do the certain thing with your hand, and they would come and land back on you.
They have the little bells on the glove.
Yep. Yeah. And that was just the coolest thing ever. So I really would like to do maybe a story based on something like that. So she would have to travel for that in that case. So, but because that was just so much fun.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah. I actually random thing. I did that in high school. My science teacher was a falconer, and we had like a little club, and for some reason we had one of like the only VHS cameras, the old big, like, it looked like Studio 7, and like, or we had one, but my dad's like, yeah, you guys can take it. So I was like the film guy for the falconry hunting, and we go get rabbits and stuff in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, it was crazy. I hadn't thought about it until you brought it up. But yeah,
yes, it was just so cool. Now, true, holding on to the bits of mice and things in your glove for them to come back and eat wasn't all the greatest. And I was thinking, that would be so cool to have a falcon, until I'd have to go out and, kill things and chop them up.
You have to,
okay, maybe not.
And they're much larger than you even think, like, oh, that's a big bird. Like they are massive. And
massive birds, but beautiful. So
very much.
It was a great time.
Yeah,
so
you have to weigh them almost daily, so you know how hungry they are. And if you're going to go hunting, like they have to be a little extra hungry. Yeah, it's a whole
it's a huge science to it, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah. It was crazy. Man, I'm going to get off on a falconry sidetrack, but talk about random topics.
Sorry.
Like,
but if anybody goes to Ireland, do that. It's really cool.
I was always thinking kind of training, and you just let him go one day and he just never comes back. And you're like, well.
Yeah, I know. I've always wondered that. It's like, it's like, how many did they lose on a monthly basis? So.
This doesn't look like the same falcon as last time I was here. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, what's interesting is they had said that most of them come from New Mexico, and they get shipped to Ireland from New Mexico.
Can you imagine you go to sleep in New Mexico and you wake up in Ireland? Like,
I know.
guess they're not tempted to fly home that way, I suppose. It just doesn't look anything like it. Yeah, but
yeah, exactly. Gee, what happened? Shouldn't have. What did that mouse have in it?
Yeah, it's a peyote mouse. That's hilarious.
Okay.
To try to get us
totally
back
on track here, but
that's my specialty, is in the ditch. But so third book's coming out end of the month. What, if I may ask, what are plans after that?
Book 4. So
awesome.
Book 4. I'm not sure if it's going to be based on Halloween, which Ireland does have, or if I'm going to do an Irish Thanksgiving, which it doesn't. But as you know, Holly grew up in Ireland, moved to the United States to get married. Her marriage failed, so she moved back to Ireland. And so I thought that might be kind of something that, to bring there from the United States, that we celebrate that they don't, and, being thankful. So that might be that. So I don't know. We'll see what.
I'm curious. I'm always curious, but yeah, I have to giggle a little bit too, because myself and my friends, we call St. Patrick's Day Irish Thanksgiving, and so.
There you go. Well, the third one is done on St. Patrick's Day, so.
That explains the shenanigans. That's perfect.
Yeah,
and
the shenanigans is the name of the bar. So.
Oh, that's right.
The pub that they.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Shamrock, shenanigans, and murder. Oh, outstanding.
Yep.
Outstanding.
Yep.
So a review real quick. Cindy Kline, Molly McGuire, Kozer Mysteries. Website is cindykline.com. Pretty easy to get that. Hopefully I'll get that all correct. It'll be down below again. Available on Amazon starting today through Friday. The first book is free on ebook. Second one, I think it's $2.99.
$2.99. Yep.
For e-download. Third book comes out on June 30th.
Yep.
On Amazon. If you go to cindykline.com and sign up for the newsletter, you're entered in a giveaway for an autographed paperback copy of Shamrock Shenanigans and Murder, which I think everybody should go there, sign up for that. Can they get to the newsletter from the Facebook page as well?
Well, you have to go to my website. So yes, you can go to the Facebook page and that will link you to cindykline.com, but then you still have to sign up for the newsletter there. I couldn't get it to work to link the one to the other. I can
definitely understand that because Facebook is fickle. And so, I didn't want to give somebody the wrong information, but also, yes, please do check out the Facebook group page as well. Search for Molly McGuire Tozer Mysteries. And so everybody keep your eyes out. Highly recommend. This is from the Micah Book of the Month Club. Welcome Home to Murder. I can't wait to read the second one. It's on my to-order list. And
awesome.
Yeah, Cindy, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing some insight and a little behind the scenes and a little side on what's coming on next and the whole process and how you went through to get to where you're at and where you're going next. It's just been amazing.
Well, thank you. And it's so good to see you again.
You as well. I think we should not wait this long next time. So
no, we should not. And we'll actually be in Florida in late February, early March. So
perfect.
We might have to buzz by and see.
Definitely got to swing by the hacienda and say hello. Yep. But we'll keep folks updated too. Maybe after the second one comes or third one comes out and before the fourth or something, we can come on again and give a little update. That'd be awesome. See how things are going. But
I would love to.
Awesome. I'm going to hold you to that. And so I think we'll wrap up this episode of Far Reaches Extra. We thank everybody for stopping by. If you got questions, let us know and get a hold of Cindy or myself. We'll do our best to guide you in the right direction. Hopefully everything we talked about will be down below in the description and we will go from there. And everybody just keep on reaching. Cindy, thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Thank you, everybody.